Yo, what's up, guys? Sorry for the difference in mic quality. I'm having some setup changes, but it should go back to the clearer quality soon. But anyway, today I thought we'd do something a little more fun. We are going to be ranking my favorite Star Wars TV and movies and stuff like that. I've been a pretty big Star Wars fan, like since my creation. So, um, I've always had Star Wars, I've always held it in very high regard. Unfortunately, recently, I haven't been too satisfied with the products that they've been putting out. But regardless, it always holds a special place in my heart, and I will always appreciate Star Wars definitely. So, sorry, just making sure we're good. So, anyway, let's can we close this? There we go. Anyway, let's get into it. Um, First, let's go ahead and put Star Wars Resistance right there. Haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure it was more marketed for kids than Star Wars normally is, and as a result, I have not seen it. I haven't watched it, and unless I find out that it was like wasn't made for young kids, then I probably won't watch it. But let's go ahead and start with the rest of the tier list. A New Hope. Gonna have to put this in S. I haven't seen the any of the original trilogy movies in a while, so why don't we rank those first, just to get them out of the way. Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi. Yeah, yeah, okay. I'll get into the. I guess I'll just cover them now. Um, A New Hope, first Star Wars movie, iconic. I mean, there's not too much more to say about that. Um, The reason I didn't watch the original trilogy growing up was because I grew up with the prequels, which had significantly better effects and stuff like that. So, as a younger kid, what I couldn't really enjoy the original trilogy because obviously the effects and stuff were very dated. And I just couldn't enjoy it. But now obviously I have more appreciation and acceptance of, the time difference and stuff like that. So that's why I haven't seen it as much as the rest of the stuff on here. But I definitely enjoy it, and I do intend to go through and do a Star Wars marathon. I was originally going to do it on May the 4th, but some stuff got in the way. But yeah, all the original trilogy movies are gonna have to be toward the top. OGs, I just have to say that much. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, all good stuff here. All iconic moments within Star Wars. Now, let's go to Attack of the Clones. This is gonna be controversial, I think, but I don't care. A lot of people dislike Attack of the Clones very much. It's actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies for the pure fact that it was like the first Star Wars movie I ever watched in my entire life. First Star Wars movie. I remember watching it really vividly as a kid. I remember I had like the CDs, and I remember like the case it was in. I remember there was the image of Boba Fett standing in front of the clone army. It was so good, and it was like they were like on Camino. It was raining. I'll try to find the image and put it into the video so you guys know what I'm talking about. But I remember that all good stuff. Episode 2 is crazily nostalgic for me, and I love it. It's S tier for me, definitely. A lot of people rip on the not just the men but the women and the children too line from episode 2, but I actually like it personally. Maybe I'm just easy to satisfy when it comes to movies, but regardless, I enjoy this movie, and I will always enjoy this movie. The one criticism I have is that it didn't really develop the relationship between Anakin and Padme as much. Obviously you could like say, oh well, Anakin's just some hormonal teen who never really spoken to a romantic interest in his life, and sure, that may be true, which explains his awkwardness and even her awkwardness, but at the same time it could have been a lot better, and I really think the chemistry between the two actors could have been worked on a little bit. But regardless, love the movie. Star Wars Rebels, worst thing about it, I have to say, uh is the animation. Animation was pretty bad. Okay, well, I won't say pretty bad, but it was like significantly worse than like the Clone Wars. If I were to put like if Clone Wars is a 10 in terms of animation, Rebels is like a 6, maybe 6.5. I just the animation was really bad. They were times where they would show like Anakin and Yoda and they'd look completely different. Like the Anakin design was absolutely disgusting. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed Anakin and Rebels and he looked like Josh from across the street, but like it was really bad. I'm sorry. Rebels animation not the greatest, but it did have some upsides. The Thrawn, Vader, and Tarkin were all really good, and also I think the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels is pretty good. I think he's a pretty underrated antagonist, but I thoroughly enjoyed seeing the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels. So that's a plus. But the animation and some other factors just definitely keep it down. They take away from some of the more impactful moments of the series. The animation does. But regardless, I mean, the cast was all right. Like I didn't really love or hate them. I thought Kanan was solid. I wasn't a fan of Sabine. Hera was all right. Zeb was all right. Chopper was pretty good. And Ezra, I mean, we got to see him grow, so he was okay by the end of the series. But Kanan easily the best one out of the main cast. But Star Wars Rebels, C tier for me. Now, Rogue One, I feel like a lot of people don't give this movie the respect it deserves, so I'm going to do that by putting it in A tier. One of my favorite movies. When it first came out, it was like my favorite Star Wars movie for like a while, for like the next 2 years. It was great. Um, Rogue One, it's a behind the scenes story. And I really appreciate that. I also appreciate that it doesn't have any like Jedi or anything in the main cast. No, okay, well, aside from Chirrut here, not really any force sensitives like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's just a character driven story for the most part. I mean, do I even say that? Okay. The biggest drawback for Rogue One is that since all these characters we just meet, we don't really care about them as much and they aren't really as fleshed out. So in the end you can end up feeling like the characters are a little bit stale, but even then, I feel like it tugs at some heartstrings even when they die because you don't really expect it. In Star Wars the main cast doesn't really die like that, which is why this was definitely a punch in the gut and definitely showed the darker side of the Star Wars universe that not everyone gets out alive, and I really wish they had went down this route with the rest of the series, and instead of anyway. K2SO also a pretty big uh plus for this movie. Really enjoyed this movie. Honestly, I'm this close from putting it in S tier, but I think I'll keep it here for now. Next we have Revenge of the Sith. Most people would agree. Boom, boom, boom. That goes there. Revenge of the S tier is getting oversaturated. I need to pull. I'll see. I'll look at the tier list at the end and maybe make adjustments. But for now, Revenge of the Sith, second Star Wars movie I watched, great movie. I have to say. I like what is there to say. Most people really appreciate this movie, and I do as well. The Clone Wars made this movie punch even harder than it already would have, and it's just a great movie. I have to say. The whole "You Were the Chosen One" speech, it's great. There's it once again, Clone Wars made that moment much more impactful than it would have been without Clone Wars. And I'm glad a lot of people give this movie the recognition it deserves now. Now, this is where we start to get into some of the, uh, or at least with this movie, where do I put Solo? I think I put Solo. Since we don't have anything in B tier, I'll put Solo there for now. I've only watched Solo like twice. Okay. Now, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people dislike this, but I really like the way that Han Solo gains his name. It was given to him by some Imperial officer as he was signing up to join the Imperial military, um, or the Imperial Navy, whatever you want to call it. So he was walking up to sign up, and I'm sure you guys remember this if you've watched all these movies. But he was like, "I have no people, I have no last name," and so the Imperial officer that was signing up was like, "All right, well, you'll be Han Solo," and I really like that. I just love the contrast of Han Solo being this infamous smuggler known throughout the galaxy, not getting his name from doing some, huge mission solo. He got it because he signed up to be an Imperial officer and it was just given to him. I really like that. And he stuck with it throughout his entire career. I genuinely like how insignificant that interaction is that led to such a iconic character within Star Wars. Absolutely great. Love it. at least that specific segment of the movie. The rest was all right. I mean, it wasn't like horrible. I could sit through and watch it again. I thought the Suma Vermoth, I believe that's what it's called, and the black hole stuff was really wild and tricky and stuff like that. So that was cool to see. Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate it. Um, I didn't like the whole love story with the whole, I forget what her name is, but she was, I mean, like the antagonists needed work and stuff like that. But I feel like from an adventure standpoint, it was solid. Him meeting Chewbacca and stuff like that. It was just an enjoyable experience. I mean, honestly, with how highly I'm talking about this now, I'm questioning why I don't put it in A, but I'll keep it in B for now. Clone Wars movie. Um, the movie alone, I think I'll put in C tier, but if we consider that it started the series, it moves up. But we'll keep it in C tier for now. Um, Animation was a pretty big drawback for this. I don't remember what year this came out in, like '05 or something like that, if I were just to spitball. But I mean, I thought it was nice. I mean, it was an all right, kickoff to the Clone Wars. And yeah, I mean, I guess I appreciate it. I watched this movie a couple times, um, and I mean, I never really found too many issues. The whole Jabba the Hutt's son, and meeting Count Dooku in animation for the first time. So I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, there's not much to say about it, so I guess I'll keep it in C. Next, we have Clone Wars. One of these two. I'm just kidding. Obviously, like I don't like. Do I even need to say anything about Clone Wars? Like, I have to keep it super brief because everyone knows this show is goated. I mean, I'm not. I don't really know what else to say. Anyway, Clone Wars great. I watched it as a kid, definitely when it first came out. One of the things that got me into Star Wars. I remember one of the first, because I remember when I was young, I had this box TV. And despite the fact that I'm not like 90 years old, I still had this box TV, and I remember watching the arc where they were on, I forget the planet. It was with the I'm hating myself for not remembering, but it was the arc with the Talls in it. When Obi-Wan and Anakin went to this planet and they met this sentient species warring with this blue skin species on some ice planet. Um, I can't remember the planet. It's on the tip of my tongue, but that's like one of the first arcs I remember watching of the Clone Wars. It was great, but the rest of it excellent, through and through. I really like that the Clone Wars kind of paid attention to the clones themselves. They were an essential part of the story, and honestly, it's the Clone Wars that kind of made me want a Stormtrooper movie. Now, I know that sounds weird, but I feel like with how entertaining it was to have a almost an entire series focused on people who aren't force sensitive and don't have any crazy abilities. I think it would be cool to see an Imperial version of that, and we get like a regular Stormtrooper movie just about Stormtroopers' everyday life. Well, not everyday lives, obviously, action and stuff and like that. But I don't know. I just feel like that could be really cool, and that kind of was brought on by the Clone Wars, focusing on the clones. Last season, great. Or Okay, so I'm gonna say that the last season was great, but I'm going to exclude that the sisters arc ever existed. I hated that arc. I despised it. I think what's worse about the sister arc. Okay, so it wouldn't be as bad if it was in like season two. Oh, well, I mean, it can't happen in season two, obviously, because Ahsoka didn't leave the order. I mean, they could have. The point is, the reason I hate it so much was because I knew what it was standing in the way of. It was standing in the way of the final arc of the Clone Wars, the final hurrah of the Clone Wars. And I was like, there could be infinitely better lead ups to that than this. And so I just really didn't appreciate that. The arc itself I didn't really like. I thought the sisters were pretty intolerable. Um but it's more the placement, I think, that really ticked me off, rather than the fact that the arc really wasn't that great. I thought Ahsoka doing hand to hand combat was good though. Order 66 was listen. I tend to ramble and stutter when I'm talking about stuff I'm excited about. But Order 66, when I saw that animated in the Clone Wars, I played that back for like 10 to 15 minutes. Like I just couldn't move past that. When they executed Order 66 against Ahsoka, I literally kept going back and playing that without like stopping. Like I just was stuck on that for like so long because I was just captivated by the action, by the betrayal, by the music. Anakin's dark deeds was playing. It was great. Great Clone Wars S tier content. I'm gonna move on before I start rambling more. The Force Awakens. Now, the sequels get a lot of flack and they deserve it, but this I think is the one movie that does not. So, you know what I'll do? And I mean, I guess it's a little too late to do that now, but I'll do this, but I'll put it above Solo. Now, the rest of this list isn't really ordered in like by movie, it's just ordered by tier, but this is like the one tier that's ordered uh by movie. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I thought it was great. Now, it's just kind of a mirror of A New Hope. Yes, I agree. But I genuinely enjoyed it. It didn't do anything absolutely crazy like the next two movies did. It was kind of just like your classic Star Wars adventure, and for that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember seeing Rey flying the Millennium Falcon for the first time and thinking the sound design and the graph or the action was great. I don't know. I just really like The Force Awakens. Um, and had the next two movies been a lot better, this could even go higher, because it would have set up something great. But unfortunately, now let's get into the meat. Well, not the meat, but the lower end of the spectrum. The Last Jedi. I'm gonna put Last Jedi in D. It had its good moments, which is why it's not completely an F. But I mean, it's like I can't really say too much positive about it. Um, I don't know if I can get I don't know if YouTube's okay with me shouting out another video, but there's a good video on YouTube. You guys should check it out if you're into Star Wars. It's called "How Music Can Change a Scene" or something like that. I forget the exact title. But it's they essentially take the Kylo versus Luke Skywalker scene and put like Anakin's dark deeds over it, and it makes the scene 15 billion times better. So shout out to that video if you guys are into Star Wars. That's a cool scene. Like regardless of if you hate the sequels, the mere music change makes that scene so great. So if you guys are into that, please go check that out. I can't remember what the exact thing is, but I believe it's how music changes a scene. I'll get back to you guys hopefully at the end of the video to give you the exact title if you're interested. But yeah, no, I'm letting that influence my that's my headcanon of the scene, and because of that, I'm putting it in D. But I mean, there's just not much. It's just the story is just really wild and wacky. A lot of people complained about Luke as well. I didn't have as much of a problem with Luke that a lot of people did, but still, I mean, he wasn't as good as he could have been. His apology to Ben was pretty half-hearted and disingenuine. The rest of the movie was pretty forgettable in my opinion. But yeah, let's move on. Next, we have The Mandalorian. Um, I believe I'm gonna assume that this is seasons 1 and 2. Season 1, I think, goes S tier, but season 2, I think, gets lowered down a little bit. No, I mean, okay, okay, we'll put it in. Thing is, yeah, okay, we'll put it in S for now. Mandalorian, I thought was great. It was new. It was incredibly new when it came out, and everyone loves Mandalorians. So giving us an entire show focused on a Mandalorian main character was great. My biggest two issues with The Mandalorian are number one, that it wasn't really focused on Mandalorians. Despite having a Mandalorian protagonist, it was pretty much about Jedi. It was about Grogu and finding him, a home and finding him Jedi and stuff like that. I mean, I won't say it was just about that. Obviously, there was some bounty hunting and stuff in there, some Mandalorian stuff. So that was cool. But I feel like there was way too much of an emphasis on Jedi, especially in season 2. I mean, I feel like the Luke ending on its own would be fine, but I don't think Ahsoka needed to be in there. Especially with me not really enjoying her live action character design as much. I'm pretty sure most people have warmed up to it, and even I've warmed up to it, but still, I think it could have been a lot better. And once again, she just didn't need to be in it, especially since I believe they're making an Ahsoka TV show. So it was way too focused on Jedi. And another complaint I have is that it kind of had like the Star Wars mission vibe, where it's like main character goes from place to place doing missions and stuff for other people to help further their own ends. I mean, it was like it, it's all right. I just feel like it kind of got old. And there were some episodes like that that just kind of droned on, and it was like, uh, I don't know. It had some lower points, but overall enjoyable experience, and it's something that I definitely rewatch. I have to say, two of my favorite lines from Din Djarin um, are "There's only one way," the way of the Mandalore line that he said to us. Um, why am I blanking on her name? Bo Katan. I don't know why I blanked on her name, but yeah, that was cool. And then the whole "I'm not" line. To the drug lord guy when he was looking for another Mandalorian. I believe it was the first episode of season 2. So you guys may not know what I'm talking about. I love those lines though. But yeah, sorry, rambled on a little bit. Next we have episode 1. This one's hard. I'm gonna skip episode 1 and put Rise of Skywalker in F because of the ending. Um, Sidious should have not come back, and Rey should have not defeated him. I believe there was like a lot of theories that Anakin would come back, and that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, that didn't really happen in the way that we thought. Um, on a side note, when it comes to the sequel trilogy, I actually like Kylo Ren, but like he's not the best character, but I enjoy him. But I don't know. Back to this movie. Sidious coming back, obnoxious. People have been roasting this movie since it came out. They've been roasting the entire sequel trilogy since it came out, so I won't go too in depth. But there were some absolutely ridiculous moments within this movie, and that's why it gets F. Next, we have episode 1. Once again, I try to skip over this because it would be kind of difficult to rank, but I'm gonna have to put episode 1 in C. Okay, yeah, C. I'm comfortable with it being in C. Um, it's gotten a lot of hate over the years, I think, as well as episode 2, but I honestly didn't have as much of a problem with episode 1. That kind of felt like a true Star Wars adventure. I really liked the Naboo scenery. It was kind of like a change in pace, from all the other scenery in Star Wars. Seeing Naboo, the underwater stuff was pretty cool. Um, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Maul was pretty cool. Um, I thought it was nice. But yeah, no, that's my Star Wars tier list. Now, this one isn't updated. Um, Bad Batch and Kenobi are not on here. But if I were to put Bad Batch and Kenobi on here, Bad Batch would be here. And man, I wish that there was a B plus because Kenobi would go in B plus, but Bad Batch would go B tier. My biggest issue with Bad Batch is that okay, so I thought Bad Batch should have been the reward for people who watch Clone Wars, and thus it should have been a lot darker. A lot of people who grew up watching Clone Wars were pretty old enough to handle like more mature themes in Bad Batch, but we didn't really get that. It really showed that Disney is, I think, going for profit most times when as opposed to like a good story, and it's really sad to see. Um, the reason I say that is because once again, it was just really childlike. You had, you know, parental figures watching over a child, and you had just comedic relief or a lot of comedic relief that was meant for younger audiences, obviously. It just really wasn't as mature, I don't think. And I think there were some glimpses of maturity in there. But even then they didn't really want to sacrifice anyone. It just felt really lighthearted, unfortunately. Um I did enjoy Cad Bane though. I mean, I absolutely great appearance. That's probably my favorite scene in the entire series of Bad Batch. Cad Bane's appearance wasn't much work. That's like the first line he says in the entire uh in the entire show. Sorry, took a swig of water. I thought his fight with that new bounty hunter. I am sorry for blanking on her name. Um, I thought it was all right. I mean, Cad Bane lost, which was yeah. He was kind of getting his cheeks clapped in that fight a little bit, which was kind of disappointing considering he was supposed to be like I don't know one of the best um bounty hunters like of all time. Also, Book of Boba Fett is not here. I have not watched Book of Boba Fett. I was going to, and then I saw the direction that it was going, and I really didn't enjoy it. The clips that I saw. Now, to be fair, I'm making an assumption off something that I have not watched, which is something that I typically don't like to do. Um, but from what I saw, Book of Boba Fett was absolutely ridiculous and had nothing to do with bounty hunting, or anything Mandalorian themed. Like I believe Din Djarin actually popped in there and had some cool action scenes, which was nice. But I haven't seen Book of Boba Fett. I've not been happy with what I've seen though. I'll eventually watch it. And who knows, I may get back to you guys. But for now, I'm gonna put it in the haven't seen, arguably the F, but I'm just gonna put it in the haven't seen. But I thought it was, from what I've seen, my incomplete opinion, it's really bad. But yeah, Bad Batch B, Book of Boba Fett, haven't seen. Kenobi, I think I'm gonna put Kenobi in A. I think I'm not sure. Um, I feel like the first four episodes could have been swapped for something better, and then it'd easily be S. But I mean, the last two episodes I feel like closed it out pretty solidly. Um, the confrontation between Obi Wan and Anakin was great. The whole Anakin line, or the Vader line, I should say. Um, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. That's a great line. I'm gonna keep it an A. I'm gonna keep it an A. Yeah, obviously those three selections aren't on the list, but um, Kenobi A. But that's hard though because of four episodes. Okay, why don't we put a hypothetical B plus? We'll put a hypothetical B plus right here, and that'll be where Kenobi is. Bad Batch is in B, and then Boba Fett is in have not seen. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. I probably am 100%, but for now, that's my Star Wars tier list. This got on this, or this is way longer than I thought it'd be. Um, I have no clue um, about anything. This was a schlong one. I'll say that. But yeah, I'll wrap this up quickly. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know there's some controversial picks on here. I would go back and like rearrange some stuff, but this video is already almost like 30 minutes, so I'll wrap it up there. I enjoyed making this though. I have big preach if you guys made it this far. Thank you. I am Sentiment, and I guess that's my cue.